I'm Ben Ochinelli. My business is Ben Ochinelli LLC, so no company name, but the tagline is shoot to sell because that's what I do, is I strategize before shooting. That's what makes me different, is I don't shoot for the sake of shooting. I shoot to sell the listing in real estate, or if you have a product or service as a business, we can do that too. And so my specialty is in the real estate industry as a whole. And so just to gauge the room here, what's important to you pertaining to real estate photography or marketing in general? And we can start with Brian, or just anybody. Like, why are you here today?
Learn to do not so overblown photos like the windows.
Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, and we can learn that here too. So we'll get to that. How about y'all as realtors? Do y'all say it as realtors or realtors?
It's realtors. There's no real.
Yeah.
So mostly I take photos just to supplement a few, like when you buy a package, you get X number of photos, and then I go back and I'm like, oh, I wish we'd had a photo here and here.
Okay.
And so for me, it's just adding 4 or 5 photos that I should have had, or some unique views or certain items in the home, things like that.
No, and that makes a lot of sense. I've had, because I recently moved over to a tiered package. And so before it was unlimited photos, but then that wasn't sustainable for the price I was offering. I'm like, all right, I need to tier it. And then I had an agent actually that ordered the smallest tier, which is 25 photos. And it was a huge home. And she wanted me to come back out there for a second visit. And I told her it's going to be $200 for me to come out there and shoot just those extra photos. And she did it on her phone, and that's definitely a huge thing, because if you're able to supplement the costs and not have to pay a premium and just do the rest yourself, then you get the best of both worlds. You get premium photos and you get unlimited photos. Right.
I often go back and reshoot the outside when it was rainy or snowy the day they came.
Cool.
And I feel like my exterior photos are satisfactory, but if I have to shoot anything inside, they're crap.
All right. And so you came here to learn how to shoot interiors?
Sure.
Okay. And so what I do for interiors a lot of times, sometimes, and you don't see it in the photos, obviously, because it's behind the scenes, but we'll move a lot of the things inside, like living rooms or bedrooms, behind the camera, and then we'll shoot the room, and then we put everything back, but it's just a 9-day difference, and there is work. And so I would imagine part of coming here today, too, is just to get validation on some of the ideas that you've had. And so what are some of the questions that you've had in the past that you would like to say, or ask and say, is this the right thing, or should I be expecting this? Is there anything that comes to mind? And if not, just interrupt and ask, because questions are super valuable here. Ooh. Yeah, no, awesome, thank you. Sweet deal. Okay, and actually, I'm just gonna turn this screen around real quick so I can make sure that the camera's still rolling. All right, so we have wishful thinking. Okay, when it comes to real estate marketing in general, what would be like the dream? Like when it comes to real estate marketing or real estate photography? And I say marketing because photography is kind of like an element in there.
I've seen some pretty cool videos like showcasing houses, like more of almost like a lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think lifestyle photography is great in like the MLS kind of a thing.
Right.
As far as just like online marketing, stuff like that. I've done it a few times, but I think
yeah.
it's kinda cool.
Because especially when you go up into the larger homes, you're not selling the house, you're selling that lifestyle. Yeah. You're selling kind of like, what does that home bring to that family? And a lot of it's lifestyle. Absolutely, 100%. So when it comes down to a question of wishful thinking, how does lifestyle plug into that? Do you want to photograph more lifestyle, more videos on lifestyle?
Not photography per se, but more videography stuff.
Okay.
Would be good for that.
Okay, and how to market the lifestyle for that home. Okay. Anybody else? Wishful thinking. If you had it your way, what one thing or two things would make your real estate marketing a lot easier?
I honestly would like what's the word I'm looking for? Like a complete package that didn't break the bank, right? Like an affordable package that was, high-end photos plus some video marketing, things like that. That was, because you do some of this like, I just don't want to pay, $500-$600, and maybe I just don't know how much it costs, but it just seems expensive every time I look at it. Like, wow, I'm just gonna stick with this tier 1 25 photo package.
Right. Okay. No, that makes a lot of sense. So have a lot of your marketing assets made for you. That's affordable.
Yeah.
Okay. And affordability can also depend on the home. Like if you're selling a $2 million home,
right.
$500 or $600 really isn't.
Exactly. You get to 300,000, you're like, I just can't validate.
Exactly. And I consult my clients in that aspect because that's what I do for a living. Is I shoot everything behind the camera, whether it be what you just mentioned, photography, video, drone, graphic design, flyers, all of those things, and it's almost in a done for you package depending on the size of the home. Smaller homes don't qualify for it, and then as they hit the 3,000, 4,000 square foot home, I'm consulting the client. Okay, how important is video marketing for this?
Right.
And if it's not, then let's go with the lower tiers. If it is, then it probably be in your best interest. Because the way that I approach that is I don't only create assets for just that home, I create it for the agent to be able to prospect and help them close more deals. And so that's kind of like the idea behind that. How about you, Brian?
How about me what?
if you had if you had a wish for real estate marketing to make it a lot easier for you in what you do, what would that be?
I don't wish for marketing. I came to learn about photography.
Right, and photography is part of that, and I'm just wanting to show how photography can plug into.
I understand that pretty well.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so right here, this is a home that I shot. This is Airbnb, but this is from a cell phone. This is kind of the traditional look, and so what I'm going to go through right now is kind of like the befores and afters. So this is iPhone, just regular lens, and this one is iPhone 11 with a wide-angle lens. And this is your traditional single shot, single exposure on a DSLR camera. And this is it after the flash has been implemented. All the color correcting on the walls have been done. This is what that photo looks like. So we go here. This is iPhone. This is iPhone wide angle. And this is traditional single shot on a DSLR camera. And this is after flash has been applied. Okay. Oh, actually, no. This is single shot HDR without flash, and this is HDR with flash. Okay. Same thing here. This is a luxury listing. I wish the colors on this were a little bit better for the TV. So this is traditional iPhone single shot, iPhone 11 wide angle, and then single shot with a DSLR camera, HDR with a DSLR camera, HDR with flash on the camera, and this has been edited by editors. And again, so this just goes through that same cycle. So composition. Composition, my rule of thumb for composing a shot for real estate specifically is getting 3 walls. I want to keep my verticals straight as possible in camera, but when it comes to editing, that's where I make the fine tuning. So when it comes to editing, you are trying to do as much as you can behind the camera, and then when it goes to editing, that's where you make all the fine tweaks to it. Okay, and so right here, vertical lines, 3 walls. So I have 1, 2, 3 to show the space, because if it's just this, then you don't know how large that room is. So professional photography is going to include that to show space, because that's what you're selling here. You're not selling the bed, you're not selling the nightstand, you're selling the space, the vaulted ceilings, okay? How well lit those windows are. That's what you're selling here. So you want to get your 3 wall shot. Camera height is going to be approximately around the light switch height in the room. And if not light switch height, if there are vaulted ceilings or if there are high ceilings, it's acceptable to go up to midway height from the floor to the ceiling of that room. Okay, and this is provided that you do not have a tilt shift lens. The lens that I use is a 16 to 35 millimeter. Okay, let me know if you need me to slow down if you're taking notes. and repeat anything because I want to make sure
Was
that
something about shooting half the room? I missed what you talking about there.
yeah, so the height of the camera is going to be either at light switch height of the room, or if it's higher ceilings or vaulted ceilings, it's acceptable to go as far as midway height from the floor to the ceiling of the room. You may not even go that high, but it's acceptable to go up to that height. So a lot of times with my tripod, I have the bottom legs extended out completely, and that's light switch height, approximately, almost every time. If I have vaulted ceilings or if I have like a really high ceiling room, what I'm doing is I'm taking the second leg and I'm putting my finger at the halfway mark and doing that with all of them right here. So I'll go halfway up. And so a lot of times if the ceiling is high enough, I'm not going halfway to the ceiling, I'm just going a little bit higher just to get over the furniture. So that way I can see from the living room through the dining room through the kitchen over that furniture, just enough to see over that and show that connection between that space. Does that make sense? Okay. So that's that. Any questions about this? I'm going to do some more examples here. Okay. So this.
Touching on Flash then?
Yeah. So I'll be touching on Flash later on.
Is that a bracketed photo that's been combined?
Yeah. So what this is, this one's 4 photos. So it's a 3-shot bracket. And I'm going to go through my camera settings here later too. It's a 3-shot bracket plus a bounce flash. I do window pulls on larger rooms. And window pulls is basically taking the flash to each window. And then each of those are its own photograph on top of the 3-shot bracket and on top of a bounce flash. And then all that's edited in layers. First is brought into Lightroom for color correcting. Then it's layered in Photoshop to mask all the layers for all of that. But I'm not going to go into too much detail on that editing side, but if you do have questions, I can walk you through that process. I didn't put that into the presentation exactly how to edit the photos. You can actually go on my site and I show you how step by step how to edit those photos with window pulls and bounce flashes. So it's benachinelli.com. It's in my blog, and I have
Card or something?
I do not. I should have.
So Ben,
Yeah. Oh wait, actually I think I have older cards. Yep, I have older cards. So this bit.ly link may or may not work, but the website is still the same, benachinelli.com.
awesome. Thank you.
Yep. And so I have how to edit real estate photos, specifically real estate photos. I don't go into my camera settings, it's strictly just the editing side, but I do have video training that's in the pipeline for video content on my exact settings. And actually I think I'm gonna hit on the exact settings here too, but
I'm assuming everything's shot in RAW.
yeah, 100%. I did a job for a freelance, or for a company that was hiring freelance photographers. For whatever reason, they wanted JPEGs, bracketed JPEGs. And I'm like, really?
OBO.
Yeah. And so I took it, I uploaded it to their software. The software edited it. And I'm like, these look horrible. They replied back, they paid me the money. They're like, these look great. Thanks very much. I'm like, okay. And so, cool. Okay. So on my site, there's blog articles on how to edit photos and how to even edit videos and what my editors go through exactly, because I use my site as a training for them. So everything's on there. So this is another one. And the white sides are just because what I'm doing here is this TV is an HD, it's 16:9, it's 1920 by 1080. These photos are opened up as much as possible, so they're gonna be a little bit more square, and it's gonna fit the sensor. And the sensor, are you familiar with like camera sensors and everything like that, is what's in here. So this is using up the entire sensor of the camera, and that's why it's a little bit more square. So here, again, 3-wall. This is 3-shot plus bounce flash for exposure. The editors are super awesome in using that bounce flash to do the window pulls. And this just basically neutralizes the light in order to get the true colors of the room. And then right here, so this room, I'm like, okay, this gets the space. But somebody who is wanting to buy this home for these bedrooms, they want to know what these closets look like. And so I turned the camera around into the other corner, did my third wall, and got the closet in the shop. The closet didn't look horrible. It was actually, you know, they staged it, so I wanted to meet the demands of the seller because they were very proud of it. I'm like, yeah, we can show that off, and then shoot that to show where that closet is in relation, okay? Again, this one is a third wall. So we have the third wall here with the shower, and it shows the connection with the mirror. And bathrooms are super tricky. I do not enjoy shooting bathrooms just because of the mirrors.
Towel thing all the time.
Yeah, and so sometimes I'll move it, but in this case, because I got in a little bit more, it's actually hiding the camera. So I just left it there. Typically I don't, but it also ties in very well with what they have here, ties in with the wall. So I'm like, you know what, we'll keep it. Some agents, they just don't want anything on here, and I've learned to work with those agents and then just remove anything in the room. Sometimes sellers, they'll be like, oh, we like that. I'm like, you know, the agent doesn't like to keep anything here. They want to keep it to where people on the MLS, when they're looking through the inventory of the homes, they can visualize their things there. And so just try to be tactful in that approach with the sellers too. And so this is the same home or the same bathroom, just flipped out around the other side. And I believe, yeah, so the bathroom door or the shower door, I opened it to avoid the reflection. Otherwise there's gonna be a harsh reflection there. You're gonna see me in the camera, and I just don't like it, but. Yeah, right. I noticed that when I was putting it together. I'm like, oh, geez, maybe I should. But this is like high up on my files, so I'm like, all right, we'll keep these. So again, with this, try to keep a third wall for dimensions. So visually, how can a buyer look at this space and know how big it is? Because if we were to keep it right here, then we don't know how big it is. And so try to keep even dividers of the room as part of the third wall. This one was shot with no light or with no lights on. Agents will ask me, should I keep lights on, lights off? General rule of thumb for me is if it's open, it doesn't matter. Like, we can have the lights off because then it allows all the sunlight to come in and actually helps speed up the editing process because you don't have combating light sources. But if it's a stuffy home, you want the lights on. Because then you just want to showcase how bright it is inside. You don't want people to question how, you know, is this really bright? Is this even a home worth looking into? So I like to do these full-on kitchen shots, and these are what I call like my isolating shots. So we have the kitchen dining room here, and we have the kitchen isolated here to showcase, here's what the kitchen looks like visually. And again, this is light switch height to showcase that. And this is an Airbnb listing. Man, these colors are not showing up the way they should on here. So this, I'd like to show navigation of the home. So I'll take photos of the kitchen and then of the living room over here, the bedrooms, but also how does it connect? So that way the viewer, the prospects are looking at this and they can visually walk in or imagine themselves walking in the room. Again, another navigation shot here. Okay. This one was for Airbnb. So I like to get some of these shots for clients, not just Airbnb. If the home is like beautifully staged, I'll create these marketing assets for clients to use. This is if they get my unlimited package, because then it's not only shooting to sell the home, but it's also shooting to sell the agent. And what other marketing assets could they potentially leverage in their social media campaigns or in their selling presentations or later on down the road? I don't put any licensing restrictions on my photos except for don't resell my photos, which is understandable. Just don't resell them. So photos like this is what we do. Oh yeah, so this one was a zoomed in shot. So a lot of times if the bathrooms are super, super small and I can't get into it, I'll stand back and I'll zoom in just a little bit just to show you that not every photographer is able, not every situation, even for professionals, are able to get in and make the perfect shot every time. You have to work to get the shots in. And this one is navigation. So this one is a series of photos here. So we have the rock archway as a third wall here. and we have the arch to connect those two, and then we have that to kind of just help the viewer walk through that space. And so navigation is huge. I've had plenty of agents tell me that their photographers aren't able to visually storytell, and they didn't use storytelling, I use storytelling, the home in a way to where the viewer knows what they're getting into. Okay, so storytelling is part of the photography. So this is another thing too that I do to help market the home. You can see kind of like that they have a tub, that they have faucets and whatnot in bathrooms or in kitchens, but to accentuate the hardware or even just visually isolate some of the selling features of the home. If they had upgrades, showcase the upgrades. If they have a doorbell, camera doorbell, take a photo of that, so that way the buyer is like, oh yeah, this comes with the property, okay? And so a lot of times I'll ask the seller or the agent, hey, are the appliances staying? Is the Nest or the doorbell staying? Are these included in there? Because if they are, we want to market the home as much as possible and as best as we can, okay? And so this basically just helps the buyer know, without a doubt, this comes with the home whenever they're going through the photos. Okay, and this, they could have cleaned that up better, but if the appliances stay, showcase that. Isolate that and say, these appliances stay. They're stainless steel appliances. This home's only 2 years old, and these are brand new appliances. Okay, this is going back to the arch. We accentuate some of the fun details of the home. These are my detailed shots. And then amenities too. So if it comes with a gym, like as part of the HOA, showcase that. That's part of the selling features of the property. That's part of the lifestyle of what we were talking about. So anything that's going to help sell that home or the lifestyle of the community or that home, photograph it, okay? What I like to do as well, this home was right across from a park. So rather than saying in the description this is across from a park, why not show that it's across from a park from the window? Okay, this is done with the 50mm lens. This is done with this. And so this is my detailed shot lens here. And this one, if you have a DSLR camera, generally these things are like $100. This is my Nifty 50, my Plastic Fantastic, that's what they call it. And that one was $100 for Canon. Love it. Okay. Okay, so this is another home, and we want to show, like I mentioned before, the third wall. So we have the fence here for exteriors to showcase how big is that yard. A lot of times we don't have the budget for the drone, and so you want to showcase the property lines as best as you can from the ground level, but also look at the perspective of the home. What is this porch or this patio looking at? And it's looking at this. So that way you show that connection, you visually storytell that navigation on the exteriors, okay? Okay, so this is one, I believe this one was a zoomed in shot. Yeah, this was probably at 35mm with this lens on the camera zoomed in all the way in. Now, the difference between this shot and the next shot is basically that I'm zoomed in and not. Okay, so you're gonna see here that the yard looks a lot bigger on that one, right? And so some agents like the connection between the sidewalk, others don't, and they just want green grass, okay? And so that's just done with the zoom. So this is me on the street, zoomed in at 35mm, taking the shot. This one's me at the sidewalk, zoomed out at 16mm to get a wider shot, okay? So zooming does make a difference. This was a trailer.
What height are you,
Yeah.
light switch height, but what height, when you're doing exterior,
Good question.
what height do you do?
So exterior, I'm gonna keep it around this. If it's on a hill, I typically put these all the way down. So two legs length, so all the way out basically, and I shoot as level as I can, because going into the next section, we have the drone, and that's where you can get some incredible shots from the exteriors. And people have asked me, like, your shots look different, why? It's the drone, and it's for the exteriors, and I'll show you why it's different. And it's just a game changer. Are any of y'all drone certified? Perfect. And do you fly your own drone? Okay. Because one of the cool things with drone is if you don't have the drone, or if you don't have the confidence in flying it, which I'm not saying that's the issue here. I'm just saying in that event, if you get your drone license as a real estate agent, you then become the pilot in command and you can hire somebody else who doesn't have a license to fly that drone, so long you're the pilot in command. Does that make sense? Because there has to be at least 3 parts going at all times with drone. Is a pilot in command, the visual observer, and then the person flying it. Those can be actually 3 different people, but typically it's just one person. But because you're the pilot in command, you can actually break that out, and then you can hire somebody else to do it. So if somebody's like, I have a drone, but I'm not drone licensed, but you have a license, you can hire them. But you have to be there with them. So that's kind of the workaround, okay? So this is a trailer. Oh yeah, so did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. The agent really likes my work, and so she knew how much this was going to cost, and she's like, I just love your work, just do it. And so I'm like, sweet, I'll do it. I'll do the best I can. And I did. So this was not the cover photo for this trailer, and this community is very strict, but it has some great views. And so what we ended up doing is, you know what, let's get the view of the home to the mountains. And so this is what we ended up doing. So from the porch, we got the view of the mountains, and we're like, nothing's ever gonna obstruct those views. Like, it's just beautiful, it's breathtaking. It was in the morning time, and this is what she actually used for the cover, okay? And so get the view and the perspective of what the buyer's gonna see, not necessarily just the home for the sake of getting the home. And again, I like to isolate the shots here. If there's a 2-car garage, or if there's any type of garage to it, just put it in the buyer's face and say, this is what comes with the home. Like, we just recently bought a home, and the question that always come up was, I don't remember seeing a garage on that one. Well, if it's like this, then you will remember, more than likely. This was an Airbnb listing, and they wanted the creek in the background. I'm like, yeah, we can get the creek, no problem. That was here in Provo.